What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, continuing my deep dive into the Jethro Tull discography. And today we're off. We're going to discuss the Château de Aéroville, the spelling's down below, sessions that have been released in various forms going back to the 80s. That was the first time I heard any of the stuff from here on that, what I thought at the time, and I still really enjoy, the 20th century, the 20 Years of Jethro Tull box set. We first had 3 tracks from this released. For the longest time, these were known as and still kind of are, the Château disaster tapes. Basically, quickly as possible, the story behind this album is they went into this chateau, recorded a bunch of music. Apparently it was a complete disaster. There were bug infestations and food poisoning and all kinds of things went wrong. They scrapped the whole thing. They went somewhere else. Kind of took some of the pieces of music, reworked them, took some ideas, expanded on them, threw some of them out, saved some of them for War Child, a later album, eventually produced a passion play. But over the years, they've sort of trickled out bits and pieces of this. We got 3 songs in the 20 Years of Jethro Tull. They released a complete album of these in which there were a lot of flute overdubs. That was called, what was that called? I forget the name of that album. I'll drop it there because I completely forget what it was called. But then recently, Steven Wilson got a hold of these. He helped remix or remaster or do whatever magic Steven Wilson does. And then they released them in about the most original form as they were performed intended, without the overdubs, without all the extra flute stuff. Apparently we did lose like an acoustic track somewhere on the way, an acoustic guitar track over, yes, the story of the hare who lost his spectacles is on here. But this is an absolutely fascinating release. An absolutely, I would argue, amazing release, and ranks up there in the top 10 of all-time Jethro Tull albums. Absolutely fantastic. The release is essentially 3 sides of music. We don't have a 4th side for this album, as they never finished it. And so while we have a 4th side here, it's stuff that has been released previously, or like you get the Château disaster tapes as they were released on the 20 Years. You get like a version of Only Solitaire, the War Child mix, which was later released on War Child, but came from here. You get the Passion Play mix of the story of the heir who lost his spectacles. And you get the War Child mix of Skating Away on the Thin Ice. That's your bonus track. All that stuff's fluff. But you got 3 discs, 3 vinyl albums, 3 sides of absolutely amazing material. And it's best to almost approach this as 3 sides of music, because I think they all work really well as sides. Like it almost feels like, I don't know what it almost feels like, but it just, whether this was Jethro Tull's purpose leaving these sessions, whether this is like Steven Wilson was like, hey, this is the way it should go. I don't know. I'm sure someone does. The sides work fantastically. It works like a passion play. It works like a large piece of music, even though there's definite song breaks and all that kind of stuff. Rambling here. Sorry, it's early in the morning. So side 1 of, this is 6 songs. A number of this stuff is either released previously, like 3 of these songs became the Château disaster tapes from 20 Years. And then there's a Skating Away on the Thin Ice of a New Day, which I think works better in the context of these songs than it does on War Child. But what we get is this opening Big Top, which has this almost like heartbeat opening. And then we get this really almost theatrical, like circusy, proggy prelude. Big Top is a good title. Kind of reminds me of like some of the stuff the Residents use and their like instrumental stuff, and their like more like theatrical performances. It has that feel. Obviously the Residents followed this, so maybe the Residents were a fan of this thing or this kind of vibe. But this has a pre-Residents, only very proggy. The synth sounds are amazing. It's a great introduction. It goes right into this song called Scenario, which is like this really awesome acoustic feel. You know, Ian Anderson singing. It's got almost a whimsical ballady type vibe. We get the Passion Play title drop right off in here. Um, it's a little bit eerie, a little bit mysterious, not like explicitly so, but there is this undertone of just kind of slight mystery in this. And then that drops right into Audition, which is like your first full band drop. It's got just the early 70s prog pop rock hooks that Anderson and Barr would write so incredibly well. It's just an absolute classic. Like these first three songs leading up right away, it's just like, I'm all in on this album. Absolutely fantastic. It's memorable. It's it's got enough variety already to like make it highly intriguing. A fantastic start. Then we get Skating Away on the Thin Ice of a New Day, which I think works so much better in this context. It's a really nice contrast coming out of the first three songs. It flows really well. It just it just works. Never really connected with the story. There's a whole bunch of stuff on this about animals. There's stuff about performances. There's the stuff about actors. References to Passion Play. There is some story here. Don't really care how it works. Musically, it works. Everything fits perfectly. The songs fit perfectly. Really, really solid. Then we get a song called Sailor, kind of tame, acoustic guitar. If I have one complaint, I think we needed something a little more upbeat immediately coming out of Skating Ice. But eventually, this song builds really nicely. Bass comes in, there's some keys that come in. We get some really awesome climax of the song with the guitar and bass. Barr on here is fantastic. Kind of understated and subtle, but amazing. Like there's a lot of really subtle riffs throughout these things, guitar wise, and a lot of great playing. Very little flute. It's amazing the lack of flute on here. And it just gives it a different vibe, almost like there's more space for things to operate in. The later releases, the one on 20 Years, and then that other release, which had all the flute overdubs, which is escaping me, cluttered it up in a way that I think this is a lot freer. And then after Sailor, we go into No Rehearsal, which is just an absolutely fantastic, fantastic song. This was part of that 20 Years trio that's amazing. The guitar is awesome. The driving energy is awesome. The lyrics is awesome. You get a weird spoken like word interlude in it. The driving, it's a driving hard rock proggy song. The last line of it is, and the ceiling comes crashing down, and then the music quickly just falls apart, and side A ends. Side A of this thing is a perfect side of music. Absolutely fantastic. The next side of this is four songs. Only Solitaire would appear on War Child. You get two of the songs are Critique Oblique Part 1 and Critique Oblique Part 2, and various parts of this would appear on Passion Play, but you also get a lot more progginess. You get a lot more of these long instrumental passages in which Jethro Tull is going deep down the prog rabbit hole. Just really, really awesome proggy stuff. If you like Thick as a Brick, if you like a Passion Play, if that's the kind of Tull you like, and it's the kind of Tull I like, this is fantastic stuff. Left, Right, the opening song on here, there's these weird noises in the beginning that sound like babies trying to make bumblebee sounds, or maybe they're trying to make the sounds of cars driving. I'm not sure which it is, but it's kind of creepy and kind of unsettling. And then we have this like, I don't know if it's a guitar, I think it's an organ, this fat, thick organ sound that comes in, and then the guitar does join it. It's got just really funky, the sounds on this album are amazing. The tones, like the tone that Barr uses on No Rehearsal is just one of the most ridiculous tones he's ever used. It's just, there is so much great stuff on here that just sounds like Tull pushing like the Sonic territory in a different direction, in just a thicker, nastier, heavier direction. Fantastic stuff. But Left, Right, great song. Barr sounds amazing, and the music just sounds fantastic. Then we go into Only Solitaire, short little acoustic number. This was on War Child. It almost feels like a break after Left Right before we head into like the epic long Critique Oblique part one and part two. You get a lot of a lot of passion play motifs in this. You get specific things that would appear in passion play, like some of the lyrics, but then you get that best friend motif, that all of your best friends tell of that whole thing. You that is flirted with throughout this entire thing, but never committed to. And if there's one thing that almost it makes me want to go back and listen to a passion play is you don't get that dive into best friend or best friends. All of your best friends part, which in one way makes me wish it was a passion play, but the other way complements a passion play so incredibly well. But there is so much going on in this, so much incredible driving rock, so much incredibly deep prog passages. It's all over the map. The keyboard sounds are absolutely amazing. That dun, that build up that begins the Critique Oblique on a passion play, that dun 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 dun, dun, dun comes in the middle of part two, but they would take that part and put it at the beginning on the passion play. So there's a lot of parts of that you would recognize, but they're kind of in different order and they would do different things with them. This is absolutely fantastic. I think side A is almost like, hey, let's introduce you and reel you in. Side B is like, hey, we're going deep now. We're gonna prog out as much as possible. Another perfect side. And then we get side 3, which is still absolutely fantastic, but I think dips a little in the intensity, and I don't know how these are organized, but it almost seems like the album would be better served if side A was side A and side B was side 3 and then side C3 was side B and this one in the middle. Either way, it's still good stuff. Animalie starts off with like a bunch of there's like a late night saxophone a la like Glenn Frey. Then we get some like acoustic stuff. Then we get some like Baroque type keyboard stuff. Then eventually the band comes in with this upbeat, very jiggy type thing, like a dance. It's called Animalie First Dance. That first dance energy is there. Animalie 2, Second Dance, or Animalie Second Dance. Much bigger sound, a lot of passion play motifs. You'll recognize, oh, yeah, that sounds like something from passion play in there. These are both instrumentals. They're both instrumentals. Then we get the story of the heir who lost his spectacles. And apparently there was an acoustic guitar track here that got lost. It's just either piano or like keyboard piano at the same time. So it's a much sparser arrangement. Same story. I love this track. So I like this inclusion in here. I know there are people who aren't fans of this track. I like it. It's fun to listen to. Works well. Then we get Law of the Bungle, which has this really nice kind of piano ballady intimacy. Vocals start off immediately. It is kind of weird to go from the story of the hair and then have vocals start immediately after that. You almost need some sort of musical build-up. But either way, the song eventually wins me over. We get a really nice, kind of really dynamic, all over the place song. Lyrics are about a kangaroo. There's an elephant named Simon. We're getting into some really kind of silly stuff. The closing guitar riff that ends this thing is absolutely ridiculous. It's a beast. Then we get a song called Tiger Tune, which was kind of redone and used as prelude on a passion play. And then we get Law of the Bungle Part 2, which starts off with Martin Barre saying, hello, this is Law of the Jungle Part 2. I'm Martin Barre. Sometimes I'm an owl. And he does this weird little silly little thing, just spoken and true. And then we're just into this awesome prog rock energy, playful, dynamic, all over the place, fantastic. Maybe somewhat of an I think this would have been better as the second disc. I don't know the sequencing of this, but either way, that's a minor quib. It does seem almost like an anticlimactic finish after the awesomeness of discs 1 and 2, but either way, it's absolutely fantastic. And then disc 4, you get the stuff that's been previously released, but with like maybe different mixes or something. But This is fantastic. It's absolutely amazing. I think it's a must hear. If you have not checked this out, especially if you're a fan of the Thick as a Brick era or a Passion Play era, you must check this out. If I had to rank this among all the others, and I'm not going to add it to the official list, but there's my top 10 Jethro Tull albums. I would put this somewhere above Minstrel in the Gallery, maybe even above Aqualung. You can see where Passion Play ranks, and I don't think this is as cohesive as Passion Play, though I do think if they had had the chance to finish it, and like they themselves were the ones that like put out the final product, I think this could rank up there in the top 5 easily. But right now, it's probably just right outside the top 5. But this is a fantastic album. You should check it out. It is amazing. Might have been a disaster for them, but 52 years later, we can listen to this and enjoy it and indulge in it and celebrate it. And this band is amazing. And this is another little piece of evidence in the argument for the awesomeness of Jethro Tull as a prog band. I'm rambling. That's all I got to say. Check out this album, people. It's amazing. That's all I got. Peace. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Do those things you're supposed to do. And peace. Talk to you later.